Hello, people out there, and welcome to the first ever Her Game 2 podcast. My name's Mark Watson, I'm your host, and I'm joined by the founder of Her Game 2, Miss Caz May. Introduce yourself, Caz.
Aren't you lucky to be joined by me, Mark?
I am indeed. You only made me wait an hour, but there we go.
Right, I thought we said we'd stop talking about that. Sorry.
No, we never stopped. You said 8 o'clock, it's now 9 o'clock.
I'm a busy woman.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Caz and I am the founder of Her Game 2. Started this campaign in May last year and it's been really busy. Starting to regret it now. I'm joking. I love it. And I'm also a big Bristol Rovers fan for my sins.
So when you were young and you had to choose between Bristol Rovers and Bristol City, did you just think, you know what, I love punishment, I'm a glutton for it, give me more, I'll choose Rovers?
Yeah, pretty much. No. So I was naive, stupid, young. So I clueless, to be honest. My mum sort of roped me into supporting Rovers. I did have the choice. My dad's a Bristol City fan. My brother's a Bristol City fan. So yeah, I could choose. And mum was very strategic in taking me to my first game, which was the JPT final in Cardiff. And I loved it. And then I was hooked ever since. So yeah, it's been very up and down, as a Gas said, but unfortunately, nowhere near the red side of the city as it stands.
No, well, I share those stresses and that trauma being a Birmingham City fan myself. For those who don't know me, which is all of you out there, my name's Mark. I host the Fat Lads Going Gold podcast, which is a Birmingham City based podcast. And Caz, I've known you for how long now? 2 years, 3 years?
Too long.
It's just been a whirlwind of joy. Tell the people how we came to meet, Caz.
So I always have a little project going on, don't I?
You
There's always
do.
something going on. And a while back, I did a project called Homes of Football with a fantastic guy called Stuart Roy Clark, who is a football photographer, and he has been since the 80s or something like that. Anyway, really amazing photos of fans, and he just captures the joy in the moment. Obviously, we've all been there with seeing your team score a last minute winner, and he's so good at being able to capture the joy on people's faces. So we had a little project in lockdown, something for the Natural History Museum, which was to gather all of the football fans' thoughts on how lockdown was feeling for them as a football fan, not being able to go see their favourite team. So I put a tweet out trying to find fans from all over the country, and I needed a Birmingham fan, and then that's when I came across you. And yeah, we've just been pals ever since.
Would you say
Which is
best
quite nice.
friends or just like
I
mild?
mean, I really struggled to say pals then, mate. That took a lot for me to
Mild
lie.
social media acquaintances?
Yeah, that's about the peak for me
Cheers,
with our
Kaz.
relationship. You're welcome, mate.
I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. No, yeah, I saw that tweet, and being the attention seeker I am, I jumped all over it and said, me, pick me, I'll be in your video. And I was. But anyway, that's how I ended up here. So that's the groundwork behind this. If anyone's wondering why that short, fat ginger moron is sat next to you, that's the reason Kaz is stuck with me. But this podcast is all about Her Game 2. It's all about you, Caz May, your favourite subject, because you are an attention seeker after all, according to Twitter. And I just want to delve into your mind. I want to know how this all started, what it's been like. I know the day the video was released, it was a whirlwind, shall we say?
Yeah, so Her Game 2 obviously came about because of sexism in football, and a load of women that had experienced that. It's always been an issue, and we're all aware that it's been an issue, but no one's actually ever stood up and said, why are we accepting this as an issue? I do think lockdown made it worse because everyone was online, everyone was on social media, no one was in the pubs after games. People were watching their team on iFollow and then turning straight to Twitter. So more opinions online, meaning more people are going to attack you for being female, for having an opinion that they didn't agree with. So I personally had a really bad experience in lockdown where I made a light-hearted dig at another team.
Was that the
And
Wickham one?
yeah, so I've got some friends that are big Wickham fans, and we always have back and forth with each other. But as a Bristol Rovers fan, there's always been a bit of a mild rivalry between the two clubs because of history, and it's small petty things like when we were 3-1 up at Wycombe away, they said there was a lightning strike in the away end and postponed the game, so we lost the 3 points and they beat us in the replay. You know, it
Oh,
was
right.
all those sorts of things, like a few incidents like that, which made the clubs sort of have this little hatred for each other, but um, nothing too dramatic. It's not like Rovers City type rivalry, but there is a little something there. So when Wycombe were getting beat every week in the Championship, we, not just me, but every Rovers fan found it really funny, and not just Rovers fans, but other fans as well, because of the whole points per game thing and blah blah blah, where people think Wycombe cheated to get there. So it was like a tweet that did quite well because of a lot of people disliking Wycombe. So it wasn't just me, but anyway, I laughed at them losing 7-2 to Rotherham in the Championship, and I
I
said,
laughed as well.
I said, thank you. So I said, what is the actual point? With loads of laughing faces. Yeah, it was meant as like a light-hearted dig, and at Wycombe. No one personally, no Wycombe fans personally. But I tweeted it, put my phone down, didn't even think about it for the rest of the night. Until I went back onto Twitter, and then suddenly it was all about me being female, all about my body image, all about how I look, my weight, my boobs, blah blah blah. Not just from Wycombe fans, but from random fans. I think a Wigan fan came for me, and Bristol City fans, of course, jumped on it. And then it was all about my gender and how I'm a stupid bin who shouldn't watch football and stuff like that because of a
Just
light-hearted joke.
to interject there, how do you think that would have gone if you were a male football fan tweeting that? Do you think you just still have got that abuse, or do you think it
Well,
would have been a different tone of abuse?
well, there was plenty of male football fans that tweeted the same thing and didn't get anything. There was plenty of males that replied to my tweet laughing along and saying it was funny,
Yeah, me.
but they didn't get that. Yeah, like you, and they didn't get anything. And I certainly think that the words "bint," "slag," "cow" would have been used against a man, and I don't think they would have mentioned their boobs.
No.
Because like obviously that is targeting something that I have because I'm a woman. So it did feel very targeted, and it felt targeted because I was a woman, and it was an awful experience. It was really, really horrible, and it was it was my birthday, around my birthday, so I was having a few drinks and I was having a really chilled night, and then yeah, like I said earlier, I didn't even think about the tweet, and I went back on, and I just saw all of that abuse, and I just burst into tears. And
Really?
like initially, I tried to be strong and bite back at people. So the people I bit back at mainly were just people sort of saying things about Rovers, like you support Bristol Rovers, like how can you comment? And I was like, oh, I've already known their shit, so I'll openly admit that myself. But like I kind of ignored the sexist ones because that was too hard to face. I bit back at some Rovers fans as well because I just was like, I kind of felt like you're meant to be like my club, like you support
Yeah.
the same club as me. If anyone's going to be on my side, I thought it would be you.
So Rovers fans were having a pop as well.
Yeah, some of them, yeah. Like obviously there were the few people sticking up for me, but there were Rovers fans that saw the pile-on and wanted to get involved, which was really sad. And obviously that hurt a bit more than just like a random fan, because this is now a point where, well, I could see these people at games in person, so that started to panic me a little bit. And then yeah, I was really upset and I cried all night and I didn't sleep. And I think I dropped off to sleep about 4 a.m. But the most difficult part was all this happened quite late. I think it was about 11 p.m. or something, maybe a bit earlier. So a lot of my friends were asleep or, offline. So I couldn't really speak to anyone. And then I dropped off at about 4 o'clock in the morning when I could finally get to sleep. And then I woke up probably about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I just had loads of messages from people who said they'd woken up and seen it, and they all said like they couldn't believe what they were reading because it was just so much abuse. It was a real pile on. It was like a lot of people said it was really hurtful for them to read. Like my nan as well, she texted me saying like that really upset me to read that and see what people were saying about obviously her granddaughter. when it was just a light-hearted tweet.
So on your birthday night, you're sat in your house at 2-3 a.m. with your phone going absolutely mad, and it's all just tirades of abuse.
Yeah, and like it was
your
when
looks.
it was when it got personal, which was the bit that really started to hurt, because it was just a joke from my end, and it wasn't a personal attack on anyone. It was just a joke about a football team, like a little light-hearted dig, because of that rivalry between the two clubs. And I just thought, it's just too far. And then to get DMs from Wycombe fans as well saying I'm finished if I ever come to Adams Park and stuff like that, was like, as a woman who does go to away games, has been to Adams Park a few times, it was really quite terrifying for me.
I think the point is, most Villa fans have blocked me because you know what I'm like. I like to wind these people up on Twitter, but it is football banter that we all get involved with, and I think in that Wycombe case, if it was banter backwards and forwards, I don't think you'd have had half the reaction that you did this time, because I've seen you on Twitter and you do have the banter back and forth, and you have a pop at us whenever Blues lose, and vice versa with Rovers. I don't think it's the fact that you tweeted and got a backlash that's the issue. It's the nature of the backlash. It's the personal digs purely about your gender.
And it didn't stop at that one tweet either. It went on for a lot longer. I think Rovers had a game on the Tuesday following, and of course they lost by a large amount,
as per usual,
which was just totally to be expected. And I just thought, you know what, like, they're all gonna jump on this, which fair enough. And I think I did, because I was trying to take a break from Twitter, and I locked my account down and I tried to stay away, but Rovers lost 6-1 that following Tuesday. And and obviously, like, with Wycombe losing 7-2, and that's the ones that I laughed at, and it's actually the same goal difference, which is really quite funny. And to be fair, I was doing a watch party with a friend for that game that Rovers lost 6-1, and he was saying, "You're in trouble here." every time a goal went in, he was like, so we went 1-0 down within a few minutes, and then it was 2, and then it was 3 quite quickly, and then it was 4, and then it was 5, and he was like, you're screwed there, like, what are you? And I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, this is gonna be horrendous. So I was in a mixture of feelings. I was like laughing because it was so ridiculously predictable that this has happened, but I was absolutely terrified of a second wave of abuse, which obviously I got. So I went onto Twitter, I wrote a tweet saying, like, oh, that's typical, like, tried to like laugh it off, sort of thing. I thought if I do that, then people might like think, okay, she's taking it quite well, I don't need to like come for her. But unfortunately there were still tweets. So like there were a group of City fans that were tweeting about me and my boobs again, about my weight, like, so saying like bitter on her fat ass and stuff like that, like just unbelievable. Like,
have these people even met you anyway? Like, all from a profile photo, they've just decided what's the worst thing we could possibly say to a young woman? Well, let's have a pop at her looks.
Yeah, let's have it. Yeah, it was everything.
Lowest hanging fruit.
Literally everything like they can find to target. They targeted it, and like I said, there was plenty of men who tweeted about Wycombe that night, and they didn't get anywhere near the same response. And then even if they did get a response, it was never about their gender or how they looked. It was all about, oh, well, you support Bristol Rovers, which I think is totally fine. Like, dig back at the team. That's absolutely fine, because I dug at your team, so you can dig at my team. It's not a problem. Like, that's the point of it. But yeah, when it starts getting personal, it's a bit much. And then the Wycombe fans were back in my DMs that night as well. There was about 4 of them, I think, probably a part of the same friendship groups. And they were like, basically saying like, oh, you better delete your account forever. You're an absolute clown and stuff like that. And then sort of saying like, again, the same thing, like, you're absolutely finished. Bristol Rovers are finished just like you. Don't come to Adams Park and all that sort of stuff. I don't even know, like, if I responded or I might have just blocked them straight away. I can't really remember, but I think I went on there, saw those messages, like the dread when I think I had loads of notifications and loads of DMs. The dread I felt when I went on there, I felt sick. And sure enough, I was reading them, and yeah, it was really quite hurtful.
So was that the straw that broke the camel's back and helped create Her Game 2, or was that kind of the final incident for you?
It was that, but there's been a few incidents as well. But I think yeah, that was one of the worst I've ever had, and it was the way I felt because I'm quite thick-skinned. The fact that I lost sleep, the fact that I was paranoid, the fact that I was overcome with anxiety, like I even got anxiety in my hands. Like I've never felt that before. What is
No.
that? And I was literally laid in bed and my hands were like tingling, like a really horrible
No
sensation.
way.
And I think that's just like it's fear, like overcoming you.
Yeah.
And that horrible, like, you know, when you get a bad feeling, you get that horrible, like, feeling that goes all the way through
Yeah,
to your
yeah, yeah.
stomach.
Yeah.
Like, I was getting that over and over again, like constant waves of it. And I think the main thing that really worried me was a lot of the abuse was coming from Bristol City and Bristol Rovers fans.
Close to
And
home.
yeah, and I was thinking, like, what if I'm just like going down the pub or going to work and I'm walking to work and these people say something to me? Um, like, that's where I felt scared and I felt alone and um, I felt like I couldn't report these things anywhere. Like, I felt like I couldn't report any incidents of sexism or any threats towards me because I just didn't know where to go and if it would even be taken seriously. Um, so yeah, it was a mixture of sexism, a mixture of threats, and a mixture of just like overall abuse, like which I understand men get as well. But yeah, it that was a big part of setting up Her Game too. I also run a podcast with five other guys, and during lockdown we did some YouTube videos of what we thought of the games. And there was an incident where the boys said exactly the same as I did. We all said the same thing, but the comments on the YouTube channel were, "Oh, Caz doesn't know what she's talking about," or "Caz is chatting shit again," and that was like, well, what the boys have said exactly the same thing, and the boys at the time messaged me saying, "Ignore that comment. We've all said it. I don't know why he's come for you," and it's one of those things. They also had some feedback to say about don't just tick a box, get people that actually know football on your podcast.
Wow.
When they announced getting me on the pod as part of the team, which again was really hurtful because I feel like I do know football. You know, I've been going for years and years, and I feel like I can debate with the boys and I can talk about, you know, the game and how it played out and who played well and who didn't play so well and if it was a good goal. I feel like I'm more than capable of that. But this person who said this has just seen that I'm a woman and assumed I don't know anything. So
Do you know the great irony of all that? As I say, I do my own podcast. If there's a podcast going, I'll try and jump on it at some point. I need the attention. You came on Fat Lads. You've been on Fat Lads about 3 times, I think. You are one of the most knowledgeable football fans I've ever met in my life. You came on. I remember the one time you came on. It was to replace one of the mainstays, and I said, "Can you just watch this Blues game before, just so you know what the hell we're talking about?" And you gave a better analysis than either myself or my co-host did, and we just sat there going, "Oh, fair enough. Do you want to come on every week?" and it's not just you. There are the girls that you do the Her Game 2 project with. Lucy Ford, pick a sport and she will tell you the entire history of that sport. Lucy is like an encyclopedia of sporting knowledge. I've never met anyone like Lucy Ford. I mean, we, for a laugh, started talking about the NFL to her, and she just repeats all this NFL knowledge back to us. A game that she never watched in her life. She just knows it. I don't know where she gets it from. Emily Drakely, who is one of my favourite people on this planet. I used to do a podcast with her as well. She's another one of the Her Game 2 ambassadors, the ambassador for Birmingham City. Came on and just it was like having someone from Sky Sports in the studio with us who's paid to be an analyst of the game. We're just three morons who do a podcast, and we were like in awe of all three of you her game 2 girls coming on and rocking our footballing minds. And it's got nothing to do with your gender. We've had males on who just freeze whenever we ask them questions. So for anyone to suggest that you or any of the other women involved with this campaign don't know what they're talking about is so laughable. Just go and watch any episode of any podcast with any of you girls on, and you'll see just how ridiculous those comments are.
Thank you.
It's all right, Pam.
Making me blush.
No, it's true, but it's true. We've had guests on who are supposedly, I'm going off on a tangent here, supposedly experts who have just froze, and you have to try and squeeze answers out of them. And yeah, for you girls, it just rolls off as if it's nothing. You are a joy to have.
Thank you. And like someone said on Twitter the other day, which I loved, the only requirement you need for watching a football match is passion, not a penis, which I thought was so true. Like, I absolutely love that. And that is why we do what we do, because we are so passionate, and we're passionate about the clubs that we grew up watching. So we've spent years watching our football teams, so there's no surprise that we do know stuff about it. So for people to say that because we're a woman we don't, I mean, the other day I was looking up the amount of passes in the game, because I was just interested to see, for example, how many passes Elliot Anderson had compared to Harry Anderson in the game. It's just because I love it. I love looking at stuff like that, and I love seeing all the data, and I love seeing, studying it. And it's like, if you study anything, isn't it? It's like if you study to become a vet, or if you study to become a teacher, you learn these things, and it doesn't matter what your gender are. If you're passionate about something, you're going to know about it. And that is what the Her Game 2 girls all are, and they all love their football, and they have every right to speak about football because they love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't dispute that whatsoever. So obviously we talked about the Wickham incident. I'm guessing there were other issues in the past that led to the creation of this, and it wasn't just that one tweet that made you go, right, I'm starting a revolution. This is it.
Yeah. So there are some instances when I was 14, 15, where men in their 50s would come up to me in the pub and talk about my boobs, which, when I look back, is so inappropriate and so intimidating for a young girl who's going to her first few football matches. So Rovers used to have an away shirt with the sponsor ITS on it. It was green and black quarters, and it had ITS right across the front. And I was at the pub. My mum was talking to a friend, so I think I was, I was a teenager. I was probably scrolling my phone or texting someone, and there was a group of men on the table next to me, and they came over to me and they started like outlining like where my chest was and like my belly, and sort of said, "Oh, do you know what you need here? You need a T in front of the ITS." And they were like as if they were like drawing the T on, but like making sure they touched. And that was, I look back and I think that is gross. I was a teenager and a group of men, and then they're all laughing, saying, yeah, like that would suit you better and stuff like that, which looking back is just disgusting. And then once I was in
would you say your mum was there?
She was there, but she was talking to a friend, like she was a bit away. And I never told her. Like I didn't go up to her and say, oh, this just happened, because A, I was quite embarrassed. B, I was quite intimidated, and I just felt a bit disgusted. I just wanted to move on from it as quick as possible.
It might sound an odd question, did you feel disgusted at the time, or is that retrospective disgust? Not saying you had no right to be disgusted. What I'm saying is, did you just accept it as this is life for a female fan?
100%. I was
knew
like,
in the moment.
I was like, ugh, gross. But I was like, I'm not going to say anything or anything, because this is what I expect. Like, you kind of think, oh, that's gross, but is what it is kind of thing. So there was another incident in Blackpool where I was walking back from the toilets through the pub on my own. And again, a guy probably mid-50s was sat at a table with his mates, and he was obviously drinking, and he pulled me over really close to him, like literally grabbed my jumper and pulled me towards him and whispered nice Bristols in my ear. I had no idea what that even meant, but I found out later on it means
Yeah.
tits,
Yeah.
titties, Bristol City's titties or something like that. So I like the way he like looked down at me. I kind of gathered that it was something sexual anyway. But again, a woman on her own, probably not the best idea to grab her and pull her that close to you and say something like that in her ear. Like it just, and then from then on, you're like, God, like this is what it is. Like, am I gonna? When's the next one gonna happen? And all of the girls actually on the team have said, thinking back, why did we allow things to happen?
Well, there's a question. Why did you allow things to happen?
Because it was just the norm. Like, as a female football fan, you just thought, well, that's just football. If you come to football in a male dominated environment, in a football environment, then you're going to have to expect this kind of behavior. Like, that was genuinely my mindset growing up, which now I look back, I think, okay, yeah, I was a lot younger. You know, I'm not going to beat myself up over it, but you do just sort of shrug it off and think, well, that's kind of what you deserve for being a woman in a male dominated area. But there's been like so many incidents where girls have brought up in the group chat about how things have happened, like men just kissing them because they think, you know, they could get away with it in this football environment. So I'm just going to go and kiss them or grab her ass or do things like that, which is just no, like you wouldn't do it in a supermarket. So why are you doing it at the football? You wouldn't go up to a woman in a supermarket, pull her close to you like this and say nice Bristols to
Well,
her.
you'd bloody hope not, wouldn't you?
Like, I mean, if someone did do that in a supermarket, there would be a fuss kicked up about it, I'm sure. And again, like you wouldn't just go up to a woman in a supermarket and try and kiss her or try and grab her ass. Like it just doesn't happen. So why is that? What is it about football that makes men think that it's okay? And not all men, obviously, just some men think it's okay, and that they've got this protective bubble around them that would stop them from getting told off about it or any
What do you think? What do you think it is? Answer that question. What do you think it is about football that makes them feel invincible?
To be honest, I do think like the lack of females in football in general is probably quite a big factor because it's seen as a lad's environment. So, you know, if a woman's there, they're not really, well, they are the minority. So like, you know, there's not like a big army of women that can sort of like fight back against it. So I think when you see one woman amongst a group of men, it's kind of like, oh, this is unusual, and then suddenly she's a bit of a target. If you are a man that's like that and you think it's okay to go and touch women, you're going to touch the only woman you see, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's something about it being like a lot of men, so it's very laddie, and there's never been anything said about it ever. So, you know, that's what we're here to do now is be like, actually, we're not okay with this. We don't want to be touched whenever you feel like it. And we just want to go and watch the game like everyone else and feel safe and secure. So that to me is probably the biggest issue is that no one has ever brought it up and no one has ever said this is actually a real problem that needs to change because we've got other great initiatives. Kick It Out, been going 25 years now, and they've changed the game so much, like so much, and what they've done is incredible. I was speaking to someone in the pub the other day that said he remembers a time where if there was a goalkeeper in goal and he was black, then people would throw bananas on the pitch like that, and that was seen as the norm until someone stepped up and said this isn't okay. It's now changed for the better, and you would never ever see anything like that these days. And if you did, then the majority would disagree with it, and you'd see bans, you'd see all sorts. So it's kind of like following in the footsteps of campaigns like Kick It Out and Rainbow Laces, and just trying to do something about sexism, which is clearly a very much needed campaign because it's a real problem.
Yeah, I'm a bit taken aback. I suppose putting the male perspective on things, I haven't seen incidents like that, but I'm not looking for incidents like that because the thought of them happening sickens me. I I don't really know what to say, and I'm just sorry you had to deal with essentially being groped and manhandled just by walking through a pub. I mean, is there any sort of set kind of demographic of the people? Is it the older generation? Is it kids? Or is it just literally anyone is a potential harasser?
I think it's anyone judging by social media, because the sexism comes from all sorts. So you get the 17-year-old with a player as his profile picture dishing out sexist abuse, and then you'll get a bloke in his mid-50s dishing out sexist abuse. So social media wise, it's all age ranges at the moment, which is sad.
I'll tell you, just to interrupt you, talk about blokes in the mid-50s. You put a tweet up. I think you just put a photo of yourself the other day. And someone said you're an attention seeker, which is a standard response whenever you tweet anything. So I tweeted I put something like, you're a solid 3 out of 10, you're just attention seeking. And someone genuinely, a Blues fan, I'm ashamed to say, with complete sincerity answered me going, yeah, mate, they're all like it. I was like, no, mate, no. Mine was a joke. I was being sarcastic. If you look through, all your friends are making the same joke. Please don't lump me in with it. I deleted it. I thought, oh my God, someone thinks I'm serious. Oh shit, I've messed up here. But no, mate, no. And he looked like he was in his 50 pluses. But with the social media, you talk about the 17-year-old, they call themselves football Twitter, don't they? Do you think they're serious with their abuse and sexism? Or do you think it's, well, they call it clout, don't they? Are they just trying to impress their offline group chats?
Probably the latter. I think a lot of it is naivety. It is a lack of education about how comments can make people feel. And again, like maybe when they're in their late 20s, they'll look back and be ashamed of how they behaved on social media. I hope so, anyway.
Well,
yeah, I do think sadly, a lot of social media, the whole quote tweet stuff, a lot of it is for likes or a pile-on, or trying to.
They're trying to get a slam dunk, aren't they? They're trying to get the tweet that goes viral, the slam dunk that puts you in your place. I find with football Twitter, there is a nice side to it, a genuinely funny side, and some of them are quite progressive, and they will call out other football Twitter accounts. The dodgy ones are the ones that in their bio say, I was bagged at 10,000 followers or whatever, when they're just trying to get that rise out of someone and impress other people. But I would hope that it is all for show. But at the same time, grow up. Just grow up.
Yeah, it's not very nice being the victim of a pile-on.
No,
it's really not.
The problem is they load the phone up, they load up Twitter, they scroll through, they send the tweet, they put the phone down, they go and carry on with their lives. That tweet lives, and that tweet lives in the minds of the person receiving it. And in your case, and the other girls involved with her game too, that tweet comes back in your mind when you're lying on your pillow at night. And you I'm sure you know, we take the Wickham thing as an example, I'm sure you know in your heart of hearts that 99% of those tweets were just dicks being dicks. And they don't really know anything about how you look or you as a person. But it's easy to sell yourself that after the fact. And when it's late at night and you're on your own, that they seem very, well, they are very real. They are throwaway comments made by morons, but they resonate, unfortunately, and that they stick around with you.
Yeah, and to be honest, like a lot of it was one person said it, got a few likes. Someone thought, I want that. I'm going to do that and hope my followers like my tweet too. Yeah. Like, so if they see one tweet getting a load of likes, they will jump on it and they'll do exactly the same. And what they don't realize is there's one person on the other end who has not just had a one-off comment, but now they've got loads and loads and loads. And you start to believe that actually, this is what people think about me. Like, I can't believe this is what people have always thought about me. Like, and then I started to really look at myself in a different way, and I was really quite upset with how I looked. And then I started getting rid of my photos on Instagram as well, because I was like, oh God, what if they're just going to go through and just like laugh at me or pick out faults with my pictures? And so I went through. I archived them. I did bring them back eventually, but
because you need the attention.
Because I need the attention, I really started to, like, from what I used to think was like quite a nice photo, I would then suddenly think I look gross in every single one of them. That was really hard. And then I think like what was it on WhatsApp? I changed my profile picture about 50 times, and one of my friends clocked it and said, "How many times are you going to change your profile picture?" But it's just because every single one they got in my mind so much. Every single one, I was like, don't know, do my cheeks look too chubby or is
I
my smile wonky and stuff like that, you know? There was just always something. And then I just kept changing it. I couldn't decide. I think I changed it to a group one in the end where I was like at the back.
I don't know if you remember, but there was a spell around that time before uploading to social media a photo of yourself. You sent me 3 or 4 different versions of it and asked which one was best. And quite frankly, I don't care, Caz. I'm not bothered. Put whatever you want up. I don't look at your photos anyway. I'm not interested. You're boring.
Thanks, mate.
No worries. But I could tell that they were in your head. And it's not just Wickham fans. So if there's any Wickham fans watching this thinking, yeah, we did it, it's not just you. It's social media in general. I could tell you were going through a dark time. But you met the girls, the Her Game 2 girls. And you did a video and you went viral, so much so that I muted Her Game 2 about an hour into it because I was sick of seeing it, Caz. I'm sick of it now. Like, it's non-stop on the phone.
Good job you're doing a podcast.
Well, I mean, you are paying me £200 an episode, aren't you? So
All you'll get is a pint and a pack of pork scratchings on next to you. Don't get your hopes up, mate.
sold. I'm done. Don't tell me, boss, but that's all I need in life. So you met the girls. Who are the girls in that video? I bet you can't list them all off the top of your head.
Bet you I can. No pressure.
No pressure.
So there's 12 of us,
I'll
including
count 'em
myself. Okay, so discounting me, so you got 11 girls. So we got Lucy, you got Leah, you got Eve, you got Holly, you got Amy, Caitlin, Izzy, Abby, Emily, Bobby, and Jess. Was that 11?
Done. Go you. That's 11 plus you is 12. And they represent teams all over the country, I believe, don't they? From, I think you got Arsenal fan, Leeds fan, Hull fan, 2 Bristol Rovers fans, which is too many, to be honest.
Excessive.
Yeah, way too excessive.
Me and Lucy come as a pair, you know that.
Well, yeah, I do. I know. I only actually like Lucy, but you just keep coming along, unfortunately.
You wanted her tonight, really, didn't you?
To be honest, she's busy. Yeah, I much prefer Lucy. So you did this video, and I mean, just tell us about the response you got.
I mean, it was. We kind of knew that it would do all right because we knew that there would be some people that can resonate with it, and it wouldn't just be us 12. We knew that there'll be more women that can relate to it. So we knew it'd do all right, but I was thinking probably like 100,000 views max because of our reach, and we're all retweeting it, and it blew up. Like, it was so fast, and I was poised and ready to tweet it out from the account at 10 o'clock. So I didn't schedule it or anything, which looking back, I don't know why I didn't do that. But I was doing it live, and I was literally pacing around my living room, waiting for the 10 o'clock to hit, because we teased on social media that we were going to do it at 10 o'clock. So I was waiting for it to strike 10. I was like, I can't mess this up. It's got to be at 10 on the dot. So I'd lined it all up, made sure the video was loaded, checked about 50 times that it was the correct final version of the video and that there was sound and blah, blah, blah.
Because there's about 300 different versions of that video that I've watched in my time.
Yeah, thank you for that, mate. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Just had to drop that in there that you helped.
Well, you know, I told you I need the attention.
Yeah. No, you did. I really appreciate that. So it hit 10 o'clock and I clicked tweet, and I kind of threw my phone on the sofa, and I was like, okay. I was terrified. Like, I was as you can imagine, like you've just put out a strong statement of something you want to do, and you want to make a change in the world, which is scary. So I threw my phone on the sofa, and then I think it was like 30 seconds. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna look. So I went back on, and before it even hit 10:01, it was already on 100 retweets, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, how are people? I don't know how it's a minute 12 seconds or something, and people would like retweet it for a minute. Yeah, and it was like, oh my God, like people must have seen the first one and gone, yes,
Yeah.
this is a bit of me. And then, yeah, so it was really great to see people just go in, oh, thank God, someone's calling this out finally, and me too, me too, me too, which was amazing. And yeah, I remember being in Tesco probably about 6 hours after, and everything just felt weird because I was like, I feel like I've just caused
Done
something
something.
online.
Yeah.
I've done something online that everyone's like, it's a bit mixed. You're not going to get 100% positivity,
Mm.
but um, I didn't read it all as well because it was just too much to go through, and I was scared to read the negative comments. So
Mm.
I was skim reading some of it and some of the nice comments coming through and people saying like thank you so much, like I really appreciate this, was really quite rewarding, but it did just feel weird, and it still doesn't feel normal. I mean, a million views in 24 hours to go second trending in the UK just behind the FA Cup final
Mm.
was way more than we'd ever expected. With the hashtag that we wanted to get out there as well. We spent ages trying to decide that hashtag name and the name of the campaign, and people just got it, which is amazing. And they started using it, which was so lush to see.
Mm.
And then to see the football clubs then, without us even asking them, just putting out their tweets of support saying, yes, her game too, her game too, her game too. The EFL also quote tweeted the video and said her game too. And it was so surreal. It was so
Mm.
surreal. Um, Obviously the negativity was hard. And I remember I was basically shaking all day because I had to have a glass of wine on the evening to calm myself down. I was shaking, and like, I don't know still to this day if it was shaking because of the overwhelming positivity or shaking because I was scared of the negative comments.
Mm.
Either way, I know I was shaking. And yeah, it
It
was,
could have
it
been the
was,
wine.
it could have been the
Yeah.
wine. Now I stopped after the first glass. But yeah, it was mixture of feelings. It was excitement, it was anxiety, it was just, yeah, everything. But it was incredible.
Do you
So
know how many views it's got now?
1.9 million.
1.9 million. I've had to unmute the account to find that, but yeah, 1.9 million.
Let's round it up, 2 million.
Well, why not?
Yeah, a
2
lot.
million. Best
A
part of 2
lot of
million.
views.
Yeah. So you talk about the negativity. What issues could people have with an equality
So,
campaign?
well, people don't like, first of all, people don't like change, and they
People don't
think that,
like a lot on social media.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and change is a big thing they don't like.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have viewed it as, you're trying to take football away from us. You're trying to overtake football and take football away from the men. No,
Obviously.
this is why we've said two, her game two. That two is so crucial
Mm.
because it's inclusive,
Yeah.
and people think that the campaign is our game only.
Yeah.
And no, like it's not. So a lot of people have an issue with that. A lot of people think that we've just done it for attention. It's like, my God, like there's much easier ways I could get attention from men on social media without having to start a national campaign and put my head above the parapet. Trust me, guys. Um, so there's those people that, yeah, think we're doing it all for ourselves and our own social media gain. But I'm not being funny. I already had like quite a large social media following. So I didn't need it. I didn't need to grow that anymore. And I actually looked at it as, okay, I can use my platform to raise awareness of an
Mm.
issue. But people obviously don't see it that way.
Well, a
Um,
lot of the girls in that first video are pretty quiet about it on social media, aren't they?
mm,
So the suggestion that it was all for attention, there's certainly 3, 4, 5 of those girls you listed earlier who I don't see mention that video at all. They're not retweeting it to this day. They're not trying to ride off the fame of it to this day.
yeah.
They support the campaign still, obviously, because they're still involved.
Mm.
But there's certainly no attention seeking from some of the girls are really quite quiet, I suppose.
Yeah,
Reserved on
they
social
are.
media. They're not all attention seekers like you, basically, Caz.
Yeah, yeah. Damn, my loud mouth makes me seek attention.
They're not all trying to
Yeah,
wind up Wickham fans.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, I just don't understand that argument at all. Like, anyone that someone's got to do it basically, and I just think, well, if like the FA started this organization, would they get called attention seekers, or is it
Mm.
because it's come from a group of female fans and men find that quite intimidating that it's the first thing they can say? I just, yeah, I mean, like I said. plenty of other ways to get attention, and I don't need to go through all this stress and fear of getting abused over making a change to get that attention. I've seen women that are very successful on social media. You know, there's some women, I'm not going to name any names, but they do quite well, and they do quite well with what they do because they do something very specific, and you know that's their own choice, and they get a lot of attention from it. So
More
you
power
know
to
that,
them.
yeah, like you know, fair play to them if that's what they want to do. But yeah, there are certainly that's the one example of there being much easier ways to do it. And God, it's been a very painful 10 months of trying to raise awareness, all that for just a bit of attention on social media, right?
Yeah, you are harder to get in touch with than Jesus Christ himself. I text you and I don't expect an answer within at least 3 or 4 days.
Good.
Yeah, I know. This podcast alone took a lifetime to actually get started. I've never. I tell you what, cards on the table, and I don't know if I've actually said this to you before, but I'm genuinely a little bit worried about your stress levels with this whole Her Game 2 thing. I know you're still working a full-time job. You're having to answer my inane questions about podcasts whenever I text you, and I don't think I've ever met anyone as busy as you, particularly for something they're not getting paid for. And I genuinely do worry about you, Caz.
Thank you. I am like, I was brave enough to speak to my work about it the other day,
Really?
which was really quite scary because I don't want them to think that I'm not working my very hardest because I still am. But I wanted them to know that I am getting abusive emails and abusive DMs because I haven't replied to a Her Game 2 email within 2 days.
Yeah.
So I had to tell them because I lose sleep over some of the stuff that people say to me on social media, and some of the expectations from the campaign is stressful. And yeah, I do lay awake at night replying to emails because someone has pressured me to respond to their email. Some of it's unintentional, and some people are very polite about chasing us up, but some people aren't, and they expect more from us. And so if I'm replying to an email at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm then not getting enough sleep to be in the office for 9 in the morning. And then I'm ultimately falling behind on my day job because my brain is just consumed with Her Game 2 stuff. And yeah, I told them about it and they've been really supportive. And we're going to think of a plan of how I can work around it. But I'm fully dedicated to my full-time job, and it makes it very difficult. And it's not just me, all of the girls work full-time. And when we're getting chased for stuff, it just adds pressure. And it's not even just my work. I mean, like some of us have actual like issues going on at home and the home life and adult life to deal with, that you have to deal with sort of every day anyway. But you also got to make time to see people, to see your friends, to relax. I mean, I can't remember the last time I've got home from work and just relaxed. I know we're doing this podcast now, but again, we said this like last year that we wanted to do this, and we're only just getting around to it. And before this, I had a call with a potential ambassador. So I got home, had the call, jumped straight on here, and then I've had no time just to chill. But that is kind of the norm for me now. Like that is, I kind of think, well, you started this campaign, Caz, so you're gonna have to put up with it.
Yeah.
But I do ask people just to be patient sometimes because
I think part of the problem is maybe twofold. Firstly, I don't think, and we will come on to this, I don't think people quite appreciate what Her Game 2 does on a day-to-day basis. I think there is a misconception that you are a viral video, nothing more, nothing less. A viral video and some retweets, and we'll address that in a minute. I also think that people are under the misconception that this is your full-time role. And you are a team, and you're perhaps even an FA-led team. Kick It Out, I don't think they're an FA-led team, but they are that is their job to run that campaign. And Rainbow Lace is there are people whose sole aim in life is to run that. This is essentially a part-time job expecting you to do full-time hours, and you are just Caz from Bristol trying to answer emails, and Lucy from Bristol, and Emily from Birmingham, and Abby from Rotherham, and all these other girls involved who I haven't got an eidetic memory like you. I can't list them all off like you did, but Leah, Eve, etc. Yeah, I got 2 more in. Amy, obviously. Can't forget Amy, obviously. Give me another one, Caz.
Jess,
obviously. Jess, the Leeds fan. I know that one. You are just girls trying to live your everyday life, but also live up to this campaign on a pedestal, which you are. But what sort of stuff does Her Game 2 sort of deal with on a daily basis?
So there's a lot of things, really. Obviously, there's less serious stuff like managing social media, replying to DMs, or there's other things like getting reports through to the email address. So we've got a reporting form on our website, and people can report incidents of sexism. We then have a set way that we deal with this. So people will report something to us. They'll give us as much detail as they possibly can. And we then need to go to the club and communicate with the club about this. And we need to ask the club how they're going to deal with it. We normally ask the club to speak to the person who reported the incident directly if they've left an email address, which the clubs are very good at doing. But sometimes it's a case of, if you haven't heard in a couple of days, you've got to chase again, and you've got to constantly have that report sort of in your mind, and make sure that it's dealt with properly and the person that's reported it is reassured. And it's not necessarily just the home club either, like it's the away club. You sort of communicate with both. So that's obviously quite time consuming and quite stressful sometimes. Like some of the reports we get through aren't very nice to read at all. And it's quite hard. And I don't want anyone to be left feeling like it's not being taken seriously, especially as we've started up this campaign about it and we want to make a change with it. I feel like we are somewhat responsible for making sure they get answers.
So Her Game 2 isn't just here's a video. It is literally, if you have any complaints about sexism at football, there is a reporting platform, and you actually take it upon yourselves to investigate these things. Yeah,
basically.
You personally, or like, is it the 12 girls that we see in that video, or is there a bigger picture these days?
So the 12 girls in the video helped with the initial setup. So it was the hashtag name, or the name of the campaign, being in the video, sharing the experience and helping us to get the message out there. But once it started to get busy, we had to sit down and say, okay, who realistically has the time to help with this and who doesn't? So I understand everyone works full time. It's going to be tricky for people, and none of us actually did commit to it being this busy. And we didn't expect it. So obviously it kind of came out of nowhere for us, and it just went 100 miles an hour and we didn't see it coming. Obviously, as the founder of the campaign, I was never going to step down from it. And I do feel committed to Her Game 2. And I started up this campaign not just with the video. If the video didn't do well, I would have carried it on anyway. How well the video did was irrelevant, because this is a dedication from me to make a change. So I was always in, and then I got an honest answer from the girls about who can actually do it. So there is only about 4 of us, maybe 5. I mean, like, some people do dip in and out, but I would say 4 of us, 5 of us that actually answer emails, deal with reports, speak to ambassadors, answer DMs, manage social media, and all 5 of us have 9 to 6 full-time jobs. So all of it needs to be done outside of working hours or on our lunch break.
What are the ambassadors you mentioned? What's an ambassador?
So the ambassadors are, so it got to the point where we were getting all these great partnerships, which is brilliant, because this is what we wanted. Clubs making a pledge. So it got to the point where we had all of these clubs showing the support, and they all want to do different things, but we cannot keep across all of these clubs, all of the 92 plus the clubs in Scotland plus the grassroots teams. It just becomes a lot of work. So we had the idea of then getting ambassadors, where we will have an ambassador from every single club who will then be in charge of speaking to the club, and then they'll be the point of contact between Her Game 2 and the club. So they'll organise things with the clubs, they'll feed back to Her Game 2 about what's going on, but it kind of just takes the weight off of our shoulders. And then if they want someone to go to a game and represent Her Game 2, then we've got an ambassador to go and do that, and we don't have to worry about coming from Bristol and going all the way up to Newcastle, for example, to attend a 3 p.m. match for 2 hours. So it's really helpful for us, and they've all been brilliant. They have all been absolutely brilliant, the ambassadors. They've really stepped up to making partnerships happen, to making dedicated fixtures happen, to getting that awareness out there, which is really great. So yeah, it's nice to see the team growing, and I'm really happy with the girls we've recruited so far, because they're all fantastic. It's a lovely
Have you got 92?
community. 92 clubs?
92 girls for 92 clubs?
No, not yet. I mean, it takes a while. We have to meet the ambassadors first, because you can't just judge someone over email. You know, you need to know they're passionate, they care, that they're going to do a good job, sort of thing. You know, you don't want someone who says they want to be part of the campaign, but then you get radio silence for months, you know. So I always like to meet the ambassadors. So I'll have a Zoom call with them, I'll explain the campaign and what we want to achieve, and every single one I've had, they've told me about how much they love the idea and their experiences and why they love football. And yeah, it's really quite lovely, actually, to meet them all properly. And it's a lovely community. Like, we got a big WhatsApp group where we all talk to each other and we share stories and we show each other support. If someone's feeling a bit low, drop a message in there. You got all the girls that are the same as you. We're all very similar because we're football fans, and it's really nice to have that community. So I'm quite proud of what I've achieved in that sense, to get this group together.
So without wanting to add to your overflowing email load, if there are any women out there, if there's anyone out there who wants to become an ambassador, is it just a case of email yourselves and put themselves forward?
Yeah, we have a get involved tab on our website, hergame2.co.uk, where you can fill that out and say why you want to become an ambassador, or just tell us a bit about yourself. You know, how long have you supported your club, or if you've had any experiences. And that the more information you put in there about yourself, the easier it is for us, because we do get multiple applications for one club sometimes, and it's quite horrible because I don't want to have to choose. And this is why we've come up with an advocates role now as well, where we're having mini teams of Her Game 2 advocates around the country, led by ambassadors. So yeah, well, I would just encourage anyone to sort of just get in touch that way and just let us know about yourself, and we can arrange a call and talk about it, and hopefully get as many girls on board as possible, without it being overflowing. But yeah, it's lovely to see so many girls keen to get involved and want to make a change. So please do.
Yeah, you say about the advocate thing. I was looking through Her Game 2's Twitter feed earlier, because don't let anyone tell you I'm not a serious podcast host and I don't do my research. But I saw Her Game 2 Rochdale, which seemed to be a small selection of girls who started their own sort of mini offshoot of you guys. I'm guessing, is that the way forward? Each team has their own Her Game 2 account, or is that a Rochdale specific thing?
So we've got Charlotte, who's our Rochdale ambassador, and she's fantastic, and she's so passionate about the campaign. She always has been. So I was so happy to get her on board. And she had that own initiative herself to create the Her Game 2 Rochdale account, because she wants to reach out to people, not just women but men as well, and really highlight the female fans at Rochdale and what they're doing, and just having it a bit away from the main account. So it's not a requirement that we're going to have for every single club. And to be honest, I think maybe that might be quite a lot of accounts if we did that. But it is working really well for her, and it's basically a place where she can run it. And she could put all Rochdale related Her Game 2 stuff on there, so it's just a place where people could go if they don't care about what the rest of us are doing, and they don't care about any other clubs of Her Game 2, but they want to know about Rochdale. That's where they can go. So it's a great initiative from her to do that, and I was more than happy for her, anyone who wants to do anything similar like that.
So say I'm a female fan on the terraces now, and someone makes a comment about me. Oh, love, get your Bristol's out, or whatever the lads say down the football these days. And I feel harassed by that. How do I go about reporting that? What happens next? Do I go to an ambassador? Do I go to you? Do I go to the club? What do the people out there listening to this, what are the steps they take, and how is it followed up on?
So obviously with all the partner clubs we've got so far, we have asked them to get a reporting system in place, and we have asked them to put posters around the stadium so women can see exactly where they need to go. But obviously we're 10 months old, these things take time. There's moments where we've had people report that the posters aren't up, so we've had to chase the clubs and say, put the posters up, because people don't know where to go. So if you're at a club that has clearly highlighted where you go for that, then I would suggest you don't bother going through us, just go straight to the club and do what they say. So whether it's a text helpline or a phone number to call or an email address, do that. But if you can't find where to go, then we've got a reporting system on our website. It's just a tab at the top says report, and you can fill out there as much detail or as little detail as you want. Obviously more detail the better. You don't have to say your name, you don't have to leave an email, you can be anonymous. And just let us know what happened, and then we can send it on to the club. And then when they send it on to the club, we'll be like, why didn't she know what to do? Or why didn't he know what to do? We do get reports from men as well, which is really great, because they're essentially trying to help us stamp out that kind of behaviour. So yeah, it's great and effective reporting system, which is something that we introduced a few months into the campaign, but we've had tons of reports already, sadly, but it's great to see people using it. And we've actually had 2 bans issued from them.
Oh, really?
Which is not common knowledge, really, but I think it's important people know that the clubs are taking action. And it's not just a case of they've seen the report and they're just going to ban someone. Everything is investigated thoroughly. So the clubs look through CCTV, they speak to stewards that were around at that time, they speak to safeguarding officers or bar staff, they get the information. And yeah, unfortunately, with the information they gathered, the person was found to be guilty of what was reported about them. And yeah, 2 bans issued, which is amazing. And both clubs have said that this person banned will not be allowed back until they complete an education course about sexism in football, which is brilliant. And we obviously assist with that, and we feedback on how we would like that to go. And yeah, great, really. It is working, and it's effective. And the more we grow and the more we progress as a campaign, it's only going to get better.
So
use it.
The people reporting, do they hear of these outcomes? Or is it kind of they report it and just accept that you're going to do your magic in the background?
If it's obviously, some of them are reports from the past, and they've sort of said, we just wanted to let you know that this is my experience. So in those sorts of cases, we know there's nothing they can do. And a lot of them don't really leave an email address either, so we can't physically get back in contact with them. But if they do leave an email address and it's something that happened very recently, then we can ask the club to take action, and we ask the clubs to speak to them directly. And then we will chase up with the club and be like, have you sorted this? What happened? And then they'll let us know, so we get that reassurance. But we do kind of trust the clubs to take it away once we've forwarded it on to them. It's kind of out of our hands at that point. We've done our job just by raising it, and we've done our jobs by having that reporting system available and just being that link to pass it on. But the clubs generally will contact the person themselves and let them know what the steps that they're taking, and if action needs to be taken.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to know this side of it. I see on social media people, women will have negative experiences and now just tweet so much for her game too. That doesn't have to be the end of it. You can do something about this. You can report this. This is what Her Game 2 was set up for. Is not just a video and some retweets and some shirts. It's an actual tool for female fans, and I worry that hasn't reached the national consciousness just yet. Not through no fault of your own. I just think it's been so long that female football fans have had to put up with this stuff that it's taken a while for it to filter down. No, there is now a channel of help for you.
Yeah, and people do assume that we're not doing a lot because we don't plaster everything we do and every email we send over social media. I mean, like a lot of the reports are confidential, so we're not gonna put that on socials and say, "Oh, we had this report from this person and this is how we dealt with it." We don't need to do that. Like, do we need to do that? I don't think
No,
we need to do that.
no.
And like things like with the bands, they happened ages ago, and we didn't feel the need to put that on social media because we're rewarded anyway, just knowing that it's having an effect. So we don't need to put it out there and people to say, "Oh, well done." Like it's happened and it's working and that's what we're happy with. And sadly we get a lot of people saying, "Oh, what did they actually do?" And, "Oh, they haven't done anything about this." And it's like,
If only you knew.
yeah, like, do you want to be in on my next meeting? You're more than
Yeah.
welcome. But again, these people saying that we're not doing anything or that we're not raising any issues are quote tweeting stuff and trying to get those likes. We got an email address. If you're really concerned about what we're doing behind the scenes, drop us an email and we'll speak to you. I'll happily have a Zoom call with you and tell you everything I've done in the last 10 months. Like,
You're going to
got no
regret
issue with
saying
that.
that.
I would love to come face to face with some of these trolls, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bring it on.
So I mentioned the shirts, and you've mentioned grassroots. Obviously, there is that side of her game too, as well. I've seen the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and was it Phillips? Did he have a shirt on recently? Calvin
Yeah.
Phillips had one.
Christian
Yeah.
Eriksen.
Christian Eriksen. All these big names now wearing the Her Game 2 warm-up shirts. But you can buy the shirts, can't you, Caz?
Yeah, so like I said, it's none of it is us doing it. It's Hope and Glory Sportswear and it's Jark Productions. They're our two merchandise suppliers, and they have kindly offered to do merchandise for us and then donate any profits to Her Game 2, which is fantastic. We are in the process of setting up properly so that we have a bank account and we can actually receive those
Right.
donations, because at the moment it is just with the shirt suppliers, which is great because we want it all done properly. But yeah, you can buy a shirt, and then what we hope to do is once we're set up properly and all of it will be online for anyone to see, is we will start donating any of those profits to Grassroots Girls Football. So we've got a list of grassroots partners, and we're going to get back in touch once we've got money, and we'll say, what do you need? We're here to supply you with kit, equipment, goals, benches, anything they might need, because girls football does not have the same funding as men's football does. So we would love to help out with that. That's my aim, and that's my vision anyway. So anyone that buys a shirt, and you can find it again on our website, we've got a little tab that says shop. If you buy a piece of Her Game 2 merchandise, you know that you are supporting grassroots girls football, and anything else that we end up doing with this campaign in the future that we need money for. At the moment, we've paid for stuff out of our own pocket, so things like information flyers or printing posters to put around stadiums. We've paid for that ourselves. The website costs money to run. We've paid for that as well. So we are actually putting our own money into it as it stands. But once we do get hopefully some funding, or once we get the profits from merchandise sales, what we want to do is donate kit and equipment to grassroots teams, and anyone that buys any piece of merchandise, you are contributing towards that. And you could give yourself a big pat on the back, because it's incredible to see all these girls enjoying football and having the opportunity to do so. So even if you just like the t-shirt, I mean, you're still doing something, which is incredible. So I don't think a lot of people are actually aware that is what happens when they buy a t-shirt. So there you go.
It's important to talk about on a podcast then. Caz?
It is. Good job I got this platform.
Good job we got this platform. I know. So what's the reception to you, yourself and the girls been like down the football since Her Game 2?
Funnily enough, we haven't had any of the nasty comments said to our face.
Right.
I've actually seen some of the trolls in person and they haven't said anything. However, that doesn't make it any less intimidating being in their presence. So we have had a lot of people come up and say nice things. Most people are dads with daughters that are really grateful for what we're doing. Some people are football coaches that coach grassroots teams, and they really appreciate what we're doing. And it is really nice to have the the support. However, because you do read a lot of negativity, and unfortunately, I've had a lot from Bristol Rovers fans.
What, since her
Um,
game too?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a group that just despise it. They absolutely. But
Why?
I've seen this group, and any Rovers fan that even puts themselves out there in any way, whether that's through a YouTube video, a podcast, or starting a national campaign, these people just don't like it. So it's I think it's a bit of like competitiveness or
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I couldn't tell you, but they hate me. They
Okay.
absolutely despise everything I do, everything I write, everything. They've bullied me on social media for probably about 3 years now. I've blocked them. I got to the point where I was like, I'm going to let go of the hate, and I unblocked them, and then they
Hmm.
started again, so I blocked them again. Um, but no, nothing been said to my face. But obviously because they've abused me and I get sent tweets that they write about me as well, which is really quite depressing. I've told people to stop doing that. But yeah, so they write tweets about me. They say a lot of nasty things about the campaign. So then I'm thinking, well, I'm going to go to the Mem on Saturday,
I
and
was going to
what if I?
say that's got to be quite intimidating.
It's horrible. Like I've changed pubs now. So I used to go to the same pub before the game. Used to really love it there. But unfortunately, I know they go there now, so there is
Hmm.
no way I'm going to that pub, and it does ruin my matching experience. So I will not lie, and that's the thing. Like, I'm sick of putting a brave face on. I will be honest and say these people have intimidated me and bullied me, and I will not. I would not go to the same places as them or actively avoid them. I walked into the first away game of the season at Mansfield with my hood up and hiding my face because I was so worried about these trolls after everything they said about the campaign and me. Um, I was so worried about them saying it to my face or chanting it as I walked past because there's quite a large group of them as well. One of them even started sending me abusive messages on Instagram, which I raised with the. I didn't raise it with the club actually. I put it on Twitter,
Hmm.
and then someone tagged the club in it and said you need to do something about this. And the club blocked this account, which then made it worse. And they
Yeah.
started abusing me more, and they all started attacking me. And then I walked into Banter and I was terrified of bumping into them. And this was right at the start. So this was August last year.
Hmm.
We're now in March, and I still do not feel comfortable going to games because I think I might bump into them. So yeah, thanks for that, fellas. If that was your goal, you've achieved it. Well done. Like, what's next?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So,
So it's not been great. That's your
are
question.
the other girls getting that sort of response, or?
Um, Amy, I know gets it quite bad. She's got a very similar group of fans at Swansea that are really
Hmm.
young, and again, like football Twitter type people
Hmm.
that just abuse her at any opportunity. So I know that like she's one to put on a brave face, but again, if she goes to games, she's probably wary that they might come up to her. And I do think it makes a difference as well with it being a bigger club. Obviously, Rovers,
Little
no
club in
disrespect
Bristol.
to my own club, but like, we don't get huge attendances. It's likely you're going to bump into people,
Hmm.
especially when you go to pubs before the game and stuff. So yeah, I can imagine some of the girls. I know Lucy feels the same as well because she said the same to me about avoiding the pub. So it's really quite sad that we have to do that, and I do feel that I get worried about what I write on social media because they'll take it the wrong way or they'll try and drag me for anything that I've said. But yeah, it's hard. It is really hard because I'm only trying to make a positive change, and
Hmm.
people are trying to make you feel like everything you're doing is wrong, or that you don't deserve to be in the spotlight because of this campaign. So when Rovers put me in the launch video for the kit, it wasn't just me. There was loads of it was a fans video, and they got the fans to model the kit, which I thought was great. They needed a female supporter. They've asked me. I mean, why not? Like,
Hmm.
why should I be denied that opportunity, which I thought was really nice of the club to ask me. But these trolls, these Bristol Rovers fans, absolutely hated it, and I got called an attention seeker for that. And yeah, they abused me for being in that video. So yeah, it's mixed emotions to be honest, because you do get people coming up and saying well done, which is really lovely. But on the flip side, you're constantly keeping your wits about you because you know that people say things and people don't like what you're doing, and there's a large group of them, and you might bump into them, and they might abuse you. So it's mixed, really.
Obviously, this podcast is about you, which is why we're talking about you and why you're sharing your experiences. This isn't a pity party for you. This is you explaining what you experienced down the football. The sad truth is that this sort of stuff happens to people up and down the country, not just females. But females tend to get the more personal insults. I know you said when you asked to name the starting 11 ones because they didn't believe that you knew what you were talking about or something equally daft like that.
And I even had it recently, and like some of it is naivety, some of it isn't intentional. There are men out there that aren't used to seeing a woman at football or aren't used to talking to a woman about football, that they're actually in shock, which just says it all, right, about this campaign. Like, we need more women. So I was at the darts not so long ago, and there was a group of Coventry fans behind us, and I don't know how we got talking about football, but there's this whole thing about Bristol Rovers taking a lot of Coventry players very recently. So he was like, "Oh, Bristol Rovers, yeah, you took some of our players," and he was like, "Oh, what's his name, the defender?" And I was like, "Tom Davies," and he went, "Yeah." He went, "Yeah, how do you know that?" I was like, "Because I'm a Bristol Rovers fan."
Yeah. Would you have said that to a bloke? Not a
no,
chance.
exactly. And then he also said, "Oh, what's the other thing?" He said, "Oh, you also took that guy, the recruitment guy." And I went, "Tommy Widdrington." He went, "Wow, you do know a lot about football, don't you?" And I was like, "I'm a Bristol Rovers fan. Why would I not know this?" And that is just the simplest of things of who did Bristol Rovers recruit from Coventry. Like, that's not even much about the technical aspects of the game, but he was shocked that I knew the players' names and our director of football. So, like, do you know what I mean? Of course I'm going to know that. I support the club.
Do you know the offside rule, though?
No, I don't. I'm a
think
girl.
so.
How am I going to know offside rule, Mark? I'm a girl.
Tell you what, you make a cracking sandwich, though, love.
My vagina does not let me understand the offside rule. So it's ridiculous, isn't it?
It's
put it that way.
It's so archaic. And as I say, it's particularly laughable to me because I spent time talking to yourself, Lucy, Emily Drakeley, who just taught me under the table about football. It's embarrassingly laughable. But I mean, what's the future for her game too? What's next? You're picking up Premier League teams now. You're playing with the big boys. Where do you go from here?
I mean, so much that I want to do, and there's so much potential in this campaign, and I just think once we're set up properly as an organisation, we can then start to branch out into other areas. So like education is a big thing that I want to get involved in. So we've had a few talks with schools, so getting that message in the school playgrounds, because oh my God, the amount of reports we've had about kids coming home from school saying that they've been told they can't play football because it's a boys' game. This is school kids saying this. And a lot of schools say the boys will play football, the girls will play netball. And it was like that when I was
at my school, yeah.
And it still is like that. Even we had a email the other day from someone that said, it might have been a tweet actually, that sort of said, "Oh, the girls have all said at the school we would rather play football," and the school said, "No, you're playing netball." And like, if the girls are saying they would rather play football, why not? Is it any different? It's no different. But then the boys, no problem, you can play football, and like that's what we want to change. So it's gonna be easy, isn't it? Going around every single school in the UK and
should be easy.
Putting that in place, yeah.
Should be easy. There's only a few thousand of them.
More than that, I reckon.
100,000. I don't know how many schools there are. I'm not an expert in schools, but yeah.
So that's obviously a massive task in itself, but that's what I see the future being, is us going to schools and taking that education piece of there and giving girls equal opportunities in schools. I mentioned earlier about the donations. So if we're ever lucky enough to get some sort of funding, I'd love to help out grassroots teams so they can keep running and they don't have to fold because they haven't got enough kit or footballs or goals or anything like that, or even a place to play. So that's another thing. And hopefully we'll be past the stage of raising awareness because at the moment that is very much what it is. Raising awareness of the issue, letting people know that it really is a problem. And then I'd love to see more women at games. I mean, I'd love to see that ratio of male to female season ticket holders change. I'd love to see it even out. I don't expect it to ever even out properly. Or if it does, it will be years and years and years to come. But I do want to start seeing more women feeling comfortable and safe going to games. And hopefully that's what we can achieve with this campaign. But there's just so much we can do. There's just so much. And I'm really excited for it. But I need to really consider about my full-time job and
I mean, have you thought of doing this full-time, or at the very least taking on a social media manager or a communications manager or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, this is all stuff that we can't consider until we get any sort of funding. I mean, I'm confident that we might. I'm sure someone will want to support us. And if we are lucky enough to ever get that sort of funding, then it's something I can consider. But right now, 10 months old, all very new, still learning every single day. Who knows? Who knows about the future? But it might be a thing where I can keep my current job, which I absolutely love, and do 3 days on that, 2 days her game too, to be able to manage the workload, something like that. But yeah, it's very exciting, and there's definitely fast progression, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I just can't say right now. I can't say what's going to happen because it's an unpredictable future. But the way it's going is just up and up and up and up, and we don't feel like we've hit the peak yet. But hopefully, at one point, it will just be a steady sailing, and no longer uphill. So it might be a bit more manageable, and I could get the headspace to think about where it's going and if I need to recruit people and stuff like that. But this is such a long way away yet. So
yeah, I suppose the priority for any campaign worth its weight would be to pay the podcast host. But baby steps.
You packet of pork and a pint if you're lucky.
Make it 2 pints and we'll talk. I'll tell you one thing that I particularly like about the campaign. So you've got these world football stars sporting your merchandise. You're in the next Football Manager game on the advertising boards going around the pitch. You are getting comments and tweets and recognition from the likes of Laura Woods and other prominent female pundits and players and referees. You got all these celebrities jumping on board, and it's great. And if it was an attention-seeking campaign, that is the stuff that you throw in people's faces and go, look, Calvert-Lewin in our logo. Look what I've done. But as I say, because I'm a professional at this, goddammit, I went through your Twitter feed and it's all grassroots football, all the way down. And I think that's brilliant, because talking to you now and looking at what you do, the passion is in grassroots, and the passion is in the youngsters. And it's not just which Premier League team can we get next, can we break into Europe and get Barca wearing our stuff. It is, can we buy a set of footballs for this team? Can we get this school on board? And I genuinely think that is fantastic, and that is not the direction I expected it to go in, based on that first viral video, but I'm so happy it took that turn.
It's wonderful, and to see the girls enjoying playing and feeling like they're not going to be set back is just so rewarding to see, because the clues in the hashtag, her game too. Don't let any man tell you that because you're a woman you don't belong in football, or it's not your sport.
And don't let any woman tell you that you're not.
Yeah, exactly. It is a problem with women as well.
It's a problem across the board, because it's an archaic way of thinking. As you said, the schools which possibly have female head teachers saying, no, you play netball. It's a problem across the board. Don't let anyone tell you you can't play
football. I had girls in school thought I was weird.
I still think you're weird, but that's different.
Well, I am a bit weird. But, I was not classed as one of the girls because I liked football, and it's things like that. It's like, well, I could do both. I could go out with the girls and have a few drinks, have a few cocktails, have a good time, and do girly things with them. And on a Saturday at 3 p.m., I could be on the terraces watching my team. Like it is possible to do both. And
Or on the pitch playing.
I did used to play in goal actually.
Did you? Mm.
Well, I say playing goal. Like I volunteered to go in goal for like.
You mean you were crap, so they stuck you in goal?
Excuse me, I got in the paper for one of these. I'm going to dig that out now and show you. I got in the paper because I made so many saves. We lost like 24-0 or something, but I made about 12 saves. So
I guess well done. I suppose.
I made so many saves
rubbish.
that you would not believe.
I'm so proud of you,
Like,
Caz.
I was proud of myself. So it was nice. But yeah, anyway, you've made me lose my train of thought.
Sorry.
Yeah, so
Shit jokes.
women can be as bad. Same as the ones that say, I've never experienced it, so it's not a problem. It's like, well, I've never been robbed, but I know that happens. Like, do you know what I mean? It's so disheartening to see some women disregard other women's experiences to say, well, I've never seen it, so it can't happen. It's like, okay, so you go to a game, you probably drive to the game, park up, straight to your seat, surrounded by the same people every time, watch the game, go straight home. Whereas there are women that go to games like myself, and I go to different pubs every time. I will go stand on the terraces, and because Bristol Rovers behind the goal is all terracing, you're next to people every time. And then at half time, I'll go into the bar, again, surrounded by different people, and then go back to the terrace, and then you're in a different spot to where you were before, next to someone else. So the likelihood of me coming across someone who is sexist or shouts something at the physio is probably higher than someone who just goes and sits in their same seat on a match day and stays there for the whole game and then goes home again, And also, if these people don't do away games as well, you're less likely to experience it. They might do, and they might have still been lucky to never experience it. But I do think match day and what you do on a match day and what your stadium's like does affect how likely it is that you're going to come across a comment like that. But I fail to believe they've never heard "Get your tits out for the lads" or
without a doubt.
Anything like that. Like, do you know what I mean? There's loads of things that people sing and say, or there's loads of things on social media. I mean, you just got to go on like Facebook and see a post about Alex Scott and just read the comments, or Twitter. Just, like, to say it doesn't exist and that we're creating a problem is crazy, and for that to come from women scares me a little bit, because it's like this raising awareness and educating people is a much bigger task than I originally thought, because like you said earlier, it is across the board.
It's the old my house was never set on fire, so why do we need the fire service? Which is just farcical. But yeah, as I say, I'll hold my hands up and say I haven't seen a female fan at the Blues be singled out. But of course I've heard "Get your tits out." Of course I have. But that's my my downfall, because like you, I grew up around it and thought, well, that's just what happens, isn't it? And that's for me to improve on, sort of thing.
But like that guy in the Blackpool pub, no one else heard that, because he pulled me so close and he said it in my ear. Like, his mates wouldn't have heard that. It was purely like he thought, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, as I say, me saying I haven't seen it, I'm not for 1 second saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying that I'm very blinkered and not looking for it, because I have the good fortune of being male and ugly, so no one is trying to come on to me anyway. And I guess, well, I know it happens. I'm not naive. I know it happens. I just maybe I need to open my eyes more. Maybe
it is worse on social media.
Oh, without a doubt. Life is worse on social media. Twitter is a cesspit, and Facebook is even more archaic, if that's even possible.
Facebook's awful. Instagram's pretty safe.
I don't go on it. I avoid Instagram as well.
I'm off Twitter as it stands, because I just like can't deal with the negativity sometimes, and just I need to focus on my goals and stuff with her game too. So, the big attention seeker I am, I'm doing it all behind the scenes and not on Twitter.
Exactly. Well, Caz, I think we've done an hour and a half now, minus a few edits. I think we're at the end of our time, my dear. But I think the important thing is that the important thing for people to take away from this is one, no one is alone out there. There is this reporting system to go through. Please, if you see, hear, experience anything, don't think, oh, that's just football. That's just men being men. Because you know what? Some men are arseholes. Some men are absolutely bloody lovely. Salt of the earth, top blokes. I mean, I know, Caz, you go to football with men. It's not like you're there in your female huddle and you just block out all men and no men allowed because you're so precious and you can't deal with banter. I mean, if this podcast has shown you anything, I can take the piss out of Caz all night long, and she knows it's banter because it's her game too. It's don't exclude you from the banter because you like the banter. You wouldn't tweet that stuff about Wickham if you didn't want the banter.
Yeah.
But you can have banter without mentioning appearances, gender, disregarding any opinion you may have. The two part of her game too is so important. It's not her game instead. It's not her game over your game. It is her game too. It is let us join in, sort of thing. So yeah, Caz, I mean, this is the first episode of the podcast. We have intentions of doing more. We have intentions of getting other guests on. I would love to hear from all the other ambassadors, all the other girls involved with Her Game Too, the original 12 as we'll now call them. I want to hear all their stories. I want to hear the darkness that happened to them and how they've coped and come through that, because it is inspiring, and whilst I'm lucky enough to not have any of this occur to me, there are people out there that may be listening who want to hear that they're not alone in this world and these things have happened to them. So I don't know who will come on next, but I'm sure there will be someone. I'm sure you can sort that out, can't you, Caz? You ain't got much on your plate.
Absolutely, there'll be someone. We've got a team of 37 as it stands, so I'm sure someone will be free for you, Mark.
That's 36 more episodes in the bag, I'm sure.
Okay, perfect.
But there you go. It just falls to me to thank you very, very much, Caz, for giving up your evening to come on here and speak to me. Always a delight, never a chore. Keep up the good work. I know it's tiring. I know you're getting no sleep whatsoever and it's encroaching on your personal life. But what you're doing for... And I use you as in the royal you, as in you, Her Game Too, all of the girls involved, everyone involved. What you're doing for the female population is fantastic.
Thank you.
And please do keep it up. And it may sound a bit wanky to say, but you are changing the world in your own small way. And long may it continue. And I wish you all the best and all the success in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks.
It has always been a pleasure. And we'll see everyone out there when we see you. Ta-ra.